thank you all for joining us. We are recording this webinar for posterity, so feel free to share it with anyone and everyone that you think might be interested in learning more about SPU's Green Business Program. My name is Daniel Pope. I'm the Executive Director at the Seattle 2030 District, and we are pleased to be welcoming our friends from Cascadia Consulting, who are here today to share a little bit about their partnership with Seattle Public Utilities and the Green Business Program and some of the options that are available for folks to take advantage of and learn a little bit more about how to make their businesses more green, more sustainable, and also avoid some of the costs associated with not being green and sustainable. So we're going to talk through a little bit of that today and also share some great case studies. Really excited to see some folks from property owners, property management companies, as well as some folks who will actually be featured in some of our case studies today. So very happy to have you all here, and I think we can advance. Great. So just a little background for those of you who are new or don't know much about the Seattle 2030 District. We are a membership nonprofit that's made up of property owners, property managers, architects, engineers, contractors, all committed to achieving the 2030 goals, which is a 50% reduction across energy, water, and transportation emissions by 50% by the year 2030. Seattle was the first 2030 district in North America, and it has been replicated 22 times. And now there are 2030 districts in places like New York and Dallas and Toronto. So we are all over the place now, but we do a lot of education programming like this to help folks figure out how to reduce the environmental impact of their buildings and the built environment. So we do that in a number of ways by providing hands-on support to property owners and helping them figure out, how their buildings can perform better, to providing educational opportunities like this, to providing networking opportunities like our upcoming 2023 Vision Awards, which is going to be on April 19th at the Seattle Convention Center, the new Seattle Convention Center, which is a LEED Gold building. So come check it out. We'll be one of the first groups in there. And we're very pleased to have so many members in downtown Seattle and beyond that are all committed to these goals. So thanks for joining us. And I think I now turn it over to Lynn from Cascadia Consulting.
Thanks, Daniel. I'm so happy to see all of you joining us today. I just want to quickly introduce myself and my colleague, Cara. So my name is Lynn Knapp. I'm a green business specialist. Cascadia Consulting Group helps run the Green Business Program for Seattle Public Utilities. So for all intents and purposes, you can consider us an extension of SPU. Cara, do you want to give a quick intro as well?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Cara. I assist with a lot of business outreach on the Green Business Program and have been working on this for over a year now. So very familiar with kind of all the ins and outs of what we communicate to all sorts of businesses.
Awesome. Will you go to the next slide? So essentially, our Green Business Program is here to help with all things sustainability as it relates to the utilities. So the Green Business Program, for a little background, we've been around since the early 2000s. I have not been around that long. I've worked on this for the last 7 years and helped lead the team, but we've helped over 10,000 businesses improve their sustainability in that time. And we work with all different businesses in all different sectors. So we work with property managers to really support their tenants, whether those be multifamily or commercial. Today, we're going to talk primarily about our commercial offerings, though we'll throw a little bit of the multifamily offerings in there as well for any mixed use buildings. And we, all the services provided to businesses are free within the city of Seattle. So we'll talk more about those services shortly, but essentially consider us free sustainability consulting for your business or your property. We have worked with restaurants, we have worked with manufacturing, really small businesses, like single employee businesses. We're support everyone. In getting support from our team, we can also help your businesses or properties work towards meeting the Seattle 2030 district performance goals through the use of the free resources of our program. So those goals that Daniel just talked about, a lot of our resources will support those. And I'll hand it over to Cara. We're going to talk a little bit about the different sort of focus areas of sustainability that our program covers, which is solid waste, so talking about recycling, composting, garbage, pollution prevention, and water conservation. So we're going to talk through the three of those kind of between Cara and I.
Yeah, so first up, talking about managing solid waste and why you should manage your solid waste. So, not sure if you are aware, but so any garbage that is produced within the city of Seattle is shipped off all the way to Southern Oregon. So, for any piece of garbage, that's really far for it to travel. Compared to compost that's produced in Seattle is then to Maple Valley. So just in terms of the travel distance, you can even see that compost is more sustainable of a disposal method. It reduces our carbon footprint if we're not traveling those far distances. So it's very important to practice sustainable waste version and maximize the material that is going to be ending up in our compost so that it's not traveling far distances and really only using the garbage for items that are truly garbage. So the Seattle Public Utilities Green Business Program team assists businesses and residents with their waste education so that everyone can stay in compliant with the varying Seattle regulations. So an important ordinance that kind of encompasses all businesses and residents is this one that you can see on this screen. So it reads that Seattle Municipal Code sections 213682 and 213683 require that residents and businesses do not put food scraps, compostable paper, yard waste, and recyclables in the garbage. So this helps create a more sustainable community by making sure that all of the compostable and the recyclable material is indeed ending up in their right homes, in their garbage, or in their recycle and compost bins, and then only garbage is going into the garbage bins. And fines are levied for non-compliant accounts who aren't following these ordinances. So just an FYI for any businesses. And then the Green Business Program does support with a lot of the education to these businesses so that these ordinances, it's easy for them to understand. And then we also do support with a lot of resources that go along with this education. And we'll kind of dive into some of those resources here on the next slide. So our reducing waste resources. So we do offer a wide range of resources just within this waste line of business. So our team can provide technical assistance to businesses, multifamily properties, and to residents, anyone who is just wanting to learn about it. Essentially in here on that bottom right corner, you can see there's some pictures from our technical assistance outreach that we've done. But essentially we can go into your business and we can sort through the trash that's there for a waste audit. During a waste audit, we go through the trash, we kind of give a report on what we find and provide feedback on any changes that can be made in your building or your business or in the building that you live in. And so you kind of get a full report on what any red flags are seen and how changes can be made. And then we also support with those changes that you want to implement. So some items that we can support with are staff trainings. Similar to something like this, we can come in and tag onto a big company lunch or a company meeting, and we can do an interactive presentation to your employees. During this presentation, we can kind of go into the logistics of what is compost, what is recycle, what is garbage, what the difference between the three are, how you can identify the three items when you are disposing of items. And we can also tailor this information specifically to the business and to the materials that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So a really good kind of technical way for the employees to understand how they can integrate more sustainable waste habits in their day-to-day life when they're working. And then along with those waste trainings, we can also provide posters and stickers. As you can see on the screen, we have posters and stickers that are already printed out that we can ship off to you and be mailed directly to you. These are really helpful. The posters show what goes into each bin, so you get a visual representation that kind of takes the work off of you. You don't have to think about what goes where, you just have a visual layout of it. And similarly with the stickers are there for you to put onto bin receptacles and help identify what is garbage, what is compost, and what is recycle, so that we aren't contaminating the garbage, and that we aren't contaminating compost, we aren't contaminating the recycle, and those three streams are staying completely separate. So really focusing on identifying those three streams and how we can get those three types in each bin separately. So that's some of the ways that we help businesses with their waste practices. And moving on to a case study, I will pass this off to Daniel.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we talked to the Seattle Aquarium about their program, and I'm very happy that we're joined here by Erin from the Seattle Aquarium. So Erin, if I get any part of this wrong, or if you have anything you'd like to add, please feel free to jump in. The aquarium, as part of their regenerative plan, has done a lot of thinking about how to reduce the solid waste that's coming out of their facility. And they, face a unique challenge in that many of the guests that come to the Seattle Aquarium are coming from all over, where there are different kinds of rules around waste disposal. A lot of people are coming from places where they don't even have recycling or composting, or these things are unusual. And so getting folks that are coming in and bringing a lot of items with them that will ultimately end up either in the trash or the compost or the recycling is a unique challenge. So what they've done is they've created these very clear visual guides on where to deposit recycling, compost, and trash. And I believe now the cafe at the aquarium is 100% compostable items. There's no more solid waste coming out of that. They are really helping to avoid the cross-contamination of the of compost getting into the trash, or trash getting into the compost. And these signs have done a lot to make that difference. As they continue with their expansion and the opening up of the Ocean Pavilion, which I believe is going to be late next year, Erin, I think, is that right? 2020 or 2024? 2024. There's doing a lot of thinking now about how they can address, the challenge of solid waste disposal. And it's they've done a lot, and it's a very unique challenge. And if they can figure it out, I think it's a really good model for anybody else who wants to try to do it, especially offices or retail here in Seattle. It's an extremely great model for success. Erin, did you want to throw in anything else about the Seattle Aquarium? Don't want to put you on the spot, but
no worries. No, you did a great job. Thank you, Daniel. The only thing I wanted to point out is these bins are located in our cafe, and they're very specific. So everything that you see on those signs are things that we sell in the cafe. So really trying to rule out any sort of confusion. People are literally holding those bottles in their hands, and that picture is exactly what it looks like.
And I just wanted to add one additional thing. Thank you, Erin, is that they have also explored through their facilities team the idea of even getting large interactive panels that can show people where to put their trash by holding it up to the screen. So there's an AI company out of Canada that's actually developing this new technology. It's pretty cutting edge stuff when it comes to waste management, but there are some really interesting innovations that are happening out there right now around how to address this problem. And all of them are getting explored as the aquarium enters this new stage of its environmental journey.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. I want to talk a little bit about water conservation, kind of moving a little bit away from waste and talking about water. So our team provides customized tips to save water in your space, whether that be, like I said, a very small business or a whole property. We offer two kinds of water conservation kits. We have aerator kits to help reduce the flow of water in hand washing sinks, and also leak detection kits to help you identify leaks and support your tenants and employees to report leaks so they can be fixed. We also can help determine through site visits if you're eligible for rebates and upgrades to your toilets, kitchen equipment, and other water using fixtures to more water efficient models. We usually do that through what we call water assessment. So during a water assessment, we come on site, we walk through all of the places where you're using water. From bathrooms to kitchens to we've done swimming pools. We've even done water assessments at the zoo and found like leaks in the hippo pools. And during those assessments, we look for leaks and provide resources, sometimes even just on site, we can fix that leak. And we also can provide recommendations for upgrades and rebates that can go along with those upgrades. So all of these actions really contribute to the 2030 district performance goal to reduce potable water use. And then on the next slide, I'm going to talk about a case study with Georgetown Brewing for one of our water assessments. So we do water assessments. SP was part of the Saving Water Partnership, and we offer free water assessments throughout that partnership. So if you're representing or supporting buildings in other parts of the King County region, they may also be eligible for water assessments. And those are carried out by water specialists. Michael is the one in these pictures who often will do the water assessment. He has 30 plus years of experience. And these are a great way for businesses to get personalized recommendations for reducing water loss and increasing water efficiency in their buildings and through their processes. We customize them depending on what type of business we're working with. The assessments can take 1 to 2 hours and help identify projects that qualify for retrofit rebates for up to 50% of project costs. So we've had a lot of businesses take advantage of those and make upgrades, sometimes upgrades they were already considering, but we're able to give them numbers on what that actual savings will look like over time based on an initial investment. So as I mentioned, any business that's in the Saving Water Partnership is eligible for these. They're free. We do on-site or in some cases virtual, if that works better for you, of agreed upon areas of water use in a facility, including bathrooms, like I mentioned, kitchens. If you have specialized equipment, like in this case, we've done a lot of these at breweries. We make sure to include those and talk about operation and maintenance, best management practices, and behavioral changes sometimes for employees, like not running for a restaurant, not running frozen items under warm water for hours to thaw them, like talking about how you can make a schedule for thawing those in refrigerators overnight instead. So talking more about Georgetown, as you probably know, water is really essential to brewing beer. And it's also one of the most significant economic and environmental impacts throughout the brewing process in terms of cleaning, using water for cleaning and things like that. So at Georgetown, which if you don't know is a Seattle-based independently owned craft brewery, they reached out to our team to request a free water assessment. And we met them on site to do a walkthrough, and we were able to identify the following recommendations for their brewery. The first was to install a water reuse system for their clean in place system, and a clean in place system helps clean the equipment. So the current clean in place system accounts for an estimated 75 to 90% of the wastewater, which is also another thing to reduce your bills, right? If you're not using as much water, you don't have the same sewer charges. So reusing that wastewater for their clean in place system could save 75% of the water that they currently used. There is an investment there, but that is something that would be eligible for the custom rebate for up to 50% reimbursed by SPU. We also recommended they install a sensor in their can cleaning station to prevent unnecessary water flow when cans are not moving down the conveyor belts. And that really estimates that they would be reducing flow by 90 minutes a day. That's a lot of water. And then we recommended they fix a leak in their growler cleaning station. We detected a leak and we were able to support the fix of that during the assessment. So all in all, from that 1.5 hour assessment at Georgetown, we showed that they could save approximately 3,500,000 gallons of water per year if they implemented this, and they could also save around $175,000 in utility savings for implementing these options. So even something like fixing a small leak, even if you don't have these huge potential savings, even something like fixing a small leak can save a business thousands in water costs per year. And now I wanted to talk a little bit about the water rebates. So here's a list of some of the items that could be eligible for rebates from SPU. There is toilet and urinal rebates. I will say the toilets need to be fairly old to qualify, like pre-2004, or have a flow rate higher than 1.6 gallons per flush. Also rebates for kitchen equipment, laundry machines. This is both in multifamily and for business. And then custom rebates, like the one I just talked about at Georgetown Brewing, or for things like cooling towers. I included this photo. I don't know if you can identify what's in this photo. It's fish fillets, it's salmon fillets. And that is from a seafood processing plant where a water assessment found that by adding some sleeves to this machine, where you see the water is kind of all dripping out now, if you added sleeves, there would be a lot of water savings, and it would be able to, this machine essentially skims, it's called a skimmer, and it takes the skin off the fish. So just by making that little change, which was eligible for a rebate, they were able to save a ton of money. And like I said, also offer some multifamily rebates for things like toilets and also irrigation systems under sort of both umbrellas there. And now we'll talk more about pollution prevention.
Yeah, so going into some more pollution prevention, SPU does help with several different other kinds of pollution prevention. So the first one we'll talk about is wastewater, also known as sewer water. So wastewater is a type of pollution that we actively are trying to prevent from entering into our communities. So to do this, we want to eliminate our sewer system from breaking or leaking, because then it can enter into our water bodies and then into our local ecosystems and communities. So flushing items other than toilet paper down the toilet can create clogs and backups. And so these are often really costly for businesses to fix. And then also it can contribute to major issues down the pipe at our lower sewer stations. So only toilet paper is able to be flushed down the toilet, and that's because it's specifically designed to go down the toilet. As soon as the water is submerged, or the toilet paper is submerged in water, it starts to break down into tiny, tiny pieces that can then fully travel through our sewer systems. Other items like paper towels or wipes, even wipes that are labeled as flushable, they never break down in our sewer systems. And so when they do enter our sewer systems, they get all clogged up together and create clogs, backups, that then can create leaks and harm our sewer system, or harm our ecosystems and harm our communities. So just trying to make everything more sustainable, making everything cleaner. So we actively try and educate our buildings, businesses, and communities on this knowledge to help reduce the amount of clogs. And it also is a massive money saving too, because clogs can be really costly and time consuming to have. And this also is a 2030 performance goal. And so to help reduce these clogs, we do just do the education to businesses, but we also provide these signs that you see in that top right corner. So these signs kind of just explicitly show what should and shouldn't be going into the toilet. So we take these to businesses and restaurants and put them up in the businesses by the toilet, so people see this while the action is happening, and so that the behavior is changing and only the right things are going down the toilets. So on top of that, fats, oils, and grease are another item that we prevent from entering and prevent pollution. So we prevent those from entering into our drains. So when we're cooking, oftentimes we cook with fats, oils, and grease, and those go into our sink, but we don't want those to go down into our drains. So the resources that we offer through our Green Business Program is these. On the bottom right, you can see it's a sink strainer. So it goes directly into your sink, and it prevents oils and grease and food material from going into your drain. So you can directly dump it all out, and it allows water to flow through. Along with, on next to that picture, you can see the fats, oils, and grease maintenance log. All restaurants and food trucks and any business that serves, does have food products, are required to have a grease interceptor underneath their sinks that kind of clean out the grease and help trap anything that these sink strainers aren't able to grab. And these are supposed to be routinely cleaned and maintained. And so we provide these logs for free to businesses to help them log this information. And we also do have an online version that's being piloted to businesses too, so that they can be tracking this information online. And then in addition to that, we don't have a picture of it on here, but another way to prevent pollution is we are able to provide storm drain protection. So these are in forms of spill kits. So outside businesses, so this isn't inside, this is outside on pavements and near the kind of by parking lots or by pavements, you'll see storm drains that water can go through, and sometimes you'll see leaves and stuff around there. So businesses that are on the street level are required to be cleaning their storm drains. So making sure that the storm drains are clear from any debris, and also making sure that if there is a spill of any contaminated material, for example, like an oil spill, that business is required to kind of clean and prevent that material from entering the storm drain. So in our spill kits, which can be requested for free on our Seattle Public Utilities website, the spill kits are a container that in this container, it has all of the materials that you would need to protect a storm drain. So it comes with absorbent material, it comes with material to stop the movement of the liquid towards the storm drain, it comes with sheets and rubber gloves to protect yourself as well. So we can link the link to that page, so you can request those on our here later on, but just know that you can get those for free if you are a ground level business, and it is required to protect those storm drains if you are a ground level business too. So again, just promoting protecting our ecosystems and creating a cleaner environment for everybody. All right, and going on to our next slide is a case study that kind of dives a little bit deeper into the flushing that I was talking about on that previous slide. So at Seattle Public Utilities, we partnered with 3 college campuses. We partnered with UW, Seattle Pacific University, so the other SPU, and Seattle University. So we partnered with these 3 colleges to create a behavior change campaign to try and have the college audiences practice more sustainable flushing behavior. So the reason why we chose to do college audiences is previously we did do a survey to a wide range of audiences, and it was found that people of the college age are the biggest contributors to improper flushing. And again, by improper flushing, I mean by putting anything other than toilet paper into the toilets to be flushed. And so when we partnered with these 3 universities, we partnered with them to engage in behavior change in their students living on campus. And so to do this, we started with a baseline survey where we surveyed all of the students and kind of gauged what their current flushing habits were. After that, we went on campus and did several different types of outreach activities. First, we hung posters in the bathrooms. So again, going back to what I was talking about and trying to target the behavior where it's happening in the toilets. So the first poster here on the bottom left in the corner, that's the poster that we hung up in the stalls. So kind of by where the toilet paper holders would be, we placed that poster there. And then we pasted the next poster that's to the right of that first one. We put that by the mirrors. So in addition to the information that they're getting when they're in the stall, they're also getting a little bit more detailed information about the residual impact of what happens when unflushables go down the drain and how they're impacting our sewer systems. So that was one method, was the stall posters and the mirror posters. Another method is due to the audience being heavily on social media. We decided to do some social media and advertisements. So one method we chose was Spotify. And we also did some social media posts on Twitter and on Instagram. And so this was just educating these audiences on this education about what should be going into the toilets and what shouldn't be going into the toilets, and so that they understand that there is a difference of the good behavior and the bad behavior, and so that they should be making that change. And then another event that we did was a tabling event. We did these on UW campus just because we were doing some outreach during COVID times, so it was limited with what we were able to do on campus. So at UW, we were able to go on campus and target these students and kind of get to talk to them and target their behavior in a conversation in person. It might be hard to tell, but on the tables in front of me in that picture, there's little containers. So in these containers, there were toilet paper and then paper towels that were submerged in water, and they had been submerged in water for years. And so this gave a great demonstration of what happens when these items are placed in water. When people shook up these two containers, they saw that the toilet paper would in tiny, tiny pieces, fully broken down. And when you shake up the paper towels, I mean, you wouldn't even have to shake it up. You could just visually see that it was completely intact. And after years of it being in water, it hadn't broken down at all. So we found that this was another important method to engage in that behavior change. And we also did post surveys after our outreach was completed, and we did find that there was behavior change in these audiences. There was an increase in the amount of students who were only flushing toilet paper in the toilets, and an increase in the students who reported that they were flushing other materials or putting other materials into the garbage rather than putting it into the toilet. So targeting this behavior does make a difference, and it does decrease the flushables going into our wastewater systems. So using these methods of the posters and the in-person engagement and just the education in general is really important for our toilets and our sewer systems in Seattle.
Thanks, Cara. It's also good to think about, you know, the focus of this really was with the multifamily audience. And so we have a lot of these resources available if you're managing buildings that include apartments or multifamily units. It's really important to engage because they're not responsible for the upkeep of those sewer systems, but most of the time, you know, the property management is, and would really like that reduction in clogs. So we were able to prove that these materials really are effective at helping reduce clogs in that way. I wanted to talk next about EnviroStars. So you may have heard of the EnviroStars program, maybe not. It's a green business recognition program available to any business in Washington state. It's funded by cities, counties, and utilities. And really the goal of the program is to provide recognition for businesses that are taking green actions. So you can go to the next slide. In order to get recognized, there's an easy 3-step application process. And when I say easy, I mean, it is pretty easy. You can start your application online at envirostars.org. You have an online application with a bunch of different green actions in different topic areas. You can see energy and pollution prevention are shown here, but it really crosses solid waste, community engagement, stormwater, and then what you do is you mark the measures that apply to your business. So you complete the green action checklist, and then you get rewarded with different points for how many actions you take. We can also complete the EnviroStars checklist on site with you if we're providing a green business site visit to bring you resources from Seattle Public Utilities, because many of the resources we provide, like we talked about the water saving aerators on faucets or recycling signage, those are green actions. So a lot of times businesses will want to do a combined visit where we bring resources and also walk through the application with them. And then this third step is that you get recognized. And we'll talk a little bit more about what the recognition benefits look like in a second. But I also wanted to mention that this application is tailored to all different industries. So there's a different checklist for auto repair versus manufacturing versus property management. That is for green tips that are going to be specific for that industry. You can go to the next slide, Cara. Thank you. So talking about benefits, the more impactful green actions you're taking as a company, the more recognition benefits you receive. So there are 3 different tier levels, and you receive more benefits the higher tier you go. So essentially, the tiers correspond to how many green actions you're taking. Every business gets recognition materials like a window cling, and they get listed on our green business directory, which we heavily promote to consumers and partners. And we get a lot of folks that email us and say, oh, great, I was just looking for a restaurant that was more sustainable. It was great to be able to go on, and they can search the directory. It's really easy to search by industry and also by where you live, so you can, or where you're looking for a business, so you can put in a zip code in an industry and it shows it on an interactive map, and it also shows what the business is doing to be sustainable on their profile. So every business gets featured on that. And then the higher tiers offer free social media ads and marketing from our EnviroStars team. You see one here from a business who is a tier 3 champion. So we do paid advertising on your behalf. You don't pay anything, the program pays it. And then next slide, thank you. So in terms of why join, I think we've talked about it. You're getting recognition as a green business. You're able to use that as promotion of your business, and potentially get free marketing on your behalf, depending on how many green actions you're taking. Here's an example of 3 businesses that really found value in becoming recognized. And if you also represent buildings, like you're managing buildings outside of the Seattle area, we can also provide resources based on what's available in your local area. So if you're outside of Seattle Public Utilities, there's going to be resources from your local utility or the county, and we can connect you to those. So we're sort of the liaison between the recognition and the resources in those areas. And then the last slide, just want to say thanks for listening through all these resources. We are here for free assistance and help. You see our phone number and our email address, greenbusiness@seattle.gov, listed on the slide. You can contact our team to schedule a free technical assistance. If you just want specifically a water assessment, great. If you want a spill kit, great. If you're just looking for solid waste signage, like you saw at the aquarium, great. We can help with all of those, or we can provide a visit where we cover everything, and we are available at any time to set up a time to support. And I think that leads us to Q&A, Daniel.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lynn and Cara, for being here and talking through this really this fantastic program. I think this is just an excellent resource for Seattle 2030 district members and businesses in Seattle. So this is really fantastic. So we've got a couple of questions in the chat, but feel free to either raise your hand or just jump in if you have a question that you'd like to ask. But the first one is the Green Your Business program based on businesses reaching out to SPU, or do you all do a proactive outreach like to new businesses?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's both. So we do proactive outreach. We get a list of new food service businesses each quarter, and we do proactive outreach to them because there's so much opportunity for sustainability improvement in the food service space. So we reach out to them with resources and do proactive site visits. And then we also have the Green Business Hotline, where we will put this contact information in the chat here shortly, but our greenbusiness@seattle.gov is listed all over the SP website for businesses that are looking for assistance, and they proactively reach out to us through our hotline and through that email to schedule site visits and things like that. So we get a lot of referrals through that And then we also will do proactive engagement to certain sectors. If there's a new requirement that comes out, if it's like food service packaging, we'll do outreach to restaurants. If there's new water requirements, we'll do outreach to like hospitals, healthcare, large buildings, that kind of thing.
And
Good
of course,
question.
outreach through partnerships with amazing organizations like the Seattle 2030 District.
Exactly.
Another question is, where is the Green Your Business program housed or managed at SPU?
Yeah, it's sort of a trick question because it is housed under, it's unique in that there is funding through the different, what we call lines of business at Seattle Public Utilities. So it's a combination of funding from the solid waste line of business, the drainage and wastewater line of business, and the water conservation line of business. So we work with a combination of leads in those different departments to have us be kind of the liaison for all things SPU. The reason why that's really helpful for businesses is you don't have to go to one specific contact at Seattle Public Utilities to schedule a water assessment and then someone else to support with recycling and composting. We're kind of the one-stop shop for all business resources through SPU.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Lynn. Another question I had is, just on behalf of a lot of our members many of whom are still working remotely, is it possible for you to provide, waste trainings to folks, even when a large percentage of their employees are working from home or working remotely? Is that something that is still possible for you all to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, we did a lot of virtual waste training. So we cover the same information just in the Zoom format versus on site, like Cara mentioned, at a staff meeting or something like that. We're still doing a combination of both right now. And we know that a lot of folks are still working from home. And everything we talk about in the training is going to be, the requirements are the same, the solid waste requirements in terms of what goes in the compost, garbage, and recycling is going to be the same whether you work at a business in Seattle or if you are a resident of Seattle. If you're a resident of Tacoma or Kirkland or somewhere close but not Seattle, the requirements can be a little bit different. So we always say, like when we're doing those presentations for folks that are working from home, that it's going to be this exact same thing at your house if you're in Seattle, and otherwise like it'll be the same when you do go into the office, but to check your local requirements for if you live outside of Seattle.
Great. Another question I just had is, when we look at the portfolio of buildings within the Seattle 2030 district, a lot of the environmental impact in some ways can come from the food service businesses that are there. That's why a lot of people are still, continuing to have gases for, stoves and ovens and things like that, directly related to food service. So I was just kind of curious if you could elaborate a little bit more about, the fats and grease resources that you can provide to food service businesses as they're starting to think about, how can the building as a whole reduce its impacts, and how can we maybe specifically target that to the food service businesses?
Yeah, Cara, I want to let you jump in if you have anything to add to this one.
Sorry, it did cut out for just a second. So I'm talking about how to target the resources just for food service businesses. Was that right?
Yeah, for fats, oils, and grease. Exactly. Like the resources we have and kind of how to work with them on it.
Yeah, so we do during a lot of our different outreach for like food service business outreach, new food service business outreach, or integrated outreach. We do take like the sink strainers on site with us when we're doing that and offer them to like show them physically how it can make an impact. And so we take the sink strainers, and then we also have our stack of our maintenance logs that we take, and then we also have service providers of those maintenance logs too. It is Seattle ordinance to have a grease interceptor for those maintenance for those grease interceptors. But oftentimes, if it's a new business, they're not aware. We do have those service providers that we can provide for them. And we're always there for the business kind of through every step of the process of them setting up that. So oftentimes there could be language barriers. So we can assist those businesses with getting support with somebody that speaks their language to help connect them with the right service and help set that up. So we can really get as technical as they want us to help them with for protecting against fat soils and grease. And again, that information is also integrated in the general waste trainings that we do to tag that on to just kind of a wide audience outside of just the restaurants and food service businesses.
Just out of curiosity, you know,
Yeah.
some of our members are, you know, tenants within buildings, but they can, you know, you can do tenant lead certification now. And so some folks are starting to look at how they are addressing the building, even if they are not the building owner or manager, how they can address the environmental impacts of the building. And I'm just kind of curious, you know, for your water quality assessments, do they have to own the building? Does it need to be something that is being done at the property manager, property owner level, or is that something that can be done by a tenant if they are interested in trying to push for that particular improvement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends on their lease, but there are a lot of things that folks can do as a tenant, like switching out aerators, for example, and then other things that are definitely going to be more building level, like a cooling tower or something like that. But there are a lot of things you can do at a tenant level to reduce water use, especially if the businesses are metered separately, and you're trying to really show water reduction at the tenant level. There's a lot of things you can do that are not going to be big equipment switch outs, for sure. Yeah. And I also wanted to mention that we didn't include it in our presentation, but we have a lot of folks on our team who are multilingual. So we can support businesses in a variety of languages. We cover the Seattle top 9. So if you have, you know, employees a tenant has employees that primarily speak Spanish, we've done a lot of waste trainings in Spanish, and are able to assist them that way. And so, yeah, if you're looking for multilingual support in any of these areas, we can usually provide that.
Wonderful. Well, are there any other questions for our folks from Cascadia Consulting and SPU? Well, in that case, I think that's about it. We'll be throwing this recording up on the Seattle 2030 District YouTube channel, so please feel free to share, like, and subscribe. And thank you all so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I hope you'll join me in thanking Lynn and Cara for coming and talking to us about this really great program and learning a little bit more about how we can have more sustainable buildings.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for organizing. And thank you all for attending. Like we said, Green Business at Seattle.gov. We're here for any and all sustainability questions. And if we can't answer it, we usually can get you to the right person who can.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you, everyone.
Have a great day.
Thanks.